Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our spring happy hour. My name is Natalia Fior, and I am the annual campaign director here with the Legal Foundation of Washington. So we are really excited to be trying a new event platform called Remo Tonight, sponsored and donated to us by Miller Nash, Graham and Dunn. So big thank you to the firm for helping out. We have a fun program with you all tonight, and I have the pleasure now of introducing you to tonight's MCs and also the co-hosts of our Associates Campaign for Equal Justice, which will kick off later this fall. We have Rachel Morowitz, an associate with Keller Rohrbach, and Matt Clark with K&L Gates. So I will pass it over to Rachel and Matt. Thank you.
Thanks, Natalia. So I want to welcome you all to our spring happy hour today. Like Natalia said, I am an associate at Keller Rohrbach. I did want to do a quick plug for Keller Rohrbach because it's a big day for our firm. One of our partners, Tana Lin, was nominated by Joe Biden to fill a vacancy at the Western District of Washington. She would be the first Asian American to sit on the federal bench in Washington. So it's a really big deal, and we're celebrating that. In the interest of inclusivity, and also before we get started, I would also like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. Thank you to those joining us outside of King County as well. We honor and recognize all the tribes and Native people that we are in community with across the state. So just a little bit about me. This is my third year with the Associates Campaign. It's only been going on 3 years, so I've done it every year. But this year I'll get to be the campaign's cruise ship director, if you will, with Matt Clark. Brianna and Brooks, you absolutely killed it last year. We have some big shoes to fill, but we're hoping to just smash last year's goal and just, as Redditors would say, to the moon. And so this is such a fun group of people, and we're still stuck in our homes, so you're hoping that with the spring happy hour, we can encourage other firms to get involved with the Associates Campaign, but also just, get everyone together and see our faces. And, with this remote platform, we can kind of do that. So we've got a great program for you tonight with Justice Marry You and 2 of the legal aid programs that this work funds, of the Columbia Legal Services and King County Bar Housing Justice Project. Regardless of where you are on your Fauci ouchie journey, it's clear that we eventually will be returning to the office. So to get you back into the groove of regular socializing, maybe putting on normal clothes, we've blocked off time towards the end for networking. We'll give you more details there, but you can hop around from tables. And I think maybe some of you were playing around with the platform before the event started. So enjoy that. But also we'll have some tables if you want to learn about the Associates Campaign and how to get involved, how to try to beat Keller Rohrbach. We can give you some tips there. So just a little bit about the Associates Campaign. While we all love to see Keller Rohrbach beat their big law colleagues, even though it will never happen, we are all in this work because we believe in equal access to justice. So the Associates Campaign is a fun and friendly competition among associates to raise funds for legal aid in Washington state. We are part of a statewide campaign for equal justice, and all funds support legal aid programs across our state. We have 2 awards that Keller Rohrbach wins every year, one for highest average gift, and the other is for highest % participation among associates. I see Matt shaking his head, so he knows that it's his time to speak, so I'll pass the torch to him.
Thanks, Rachel. If you're the captain of this ship, I guess that makes me the entertainment director for this cruise, so I'll take that on gladly. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Clark from K&L Gates, and I can't express how proud I am that, me personally and K&L Gates at large has been a part of the Associates Campaign going on for 3 years now, for all 3 years of its existence. Currently, our campaign has 10 firms participating. You'll hear from each of them later on in the program. We want to give a special shout out to Fal, Cochran, Bertitas, and Amela for joining us today. It's their first year as a member of the campaign. We're really glad they got to be a part of this. As Rachel mentioned, Keller Rohrbach has won both awards the past 2 years, so competition is a little fierce. We like to think of them as like the evil empire. So, if we have a, joint combined effort this year, hopefully we can take them down as they are, our reigning favorites. I know we've got attorneys, present from Dorsey, Stokes Lawrence, Fenwick West, and GLP or others in the House. If you want to get your firm involved and you're not currently one of the 10 participating firms from Seattle, please reach out to Rachel or myself during the networking time later on in the event, and we'll make sure we can get you guys on board and set up right. And if you're not an associate, but you just love the cause for equal justice, thank you for being here as well. We really appreciate it. As a mission-driven organization, the Legal Foundation of Washington and the Campaign for Equal Justice is always accepting donations to keep funding civil legal aid for low-income families in our state. So this is my quick plug to make a donation for this event. The Campaign for Equal Justice is a nonprofit organization and can always use your help to fund efforts to provide civil legal aid for those in need. Tonight, you can donate by clicking the donate button to the right side of the event screen, or there will be a donation link in the chat group. If you would like to support or give funds tonight, please do so. Now to our main speaker tonight, Justice Mary Yu. Justice Yu is a well-respected member of our Washington Supreme Court, and we are honored to have her incredible support for civil legal aid and access to justice. She has served on the court since 2014 and as previously was a trial court judge in King County Superior Court. She was raised in Chicago by parents who were both immigrants, and she's the first in her family to graduate from college. She received a law degree from a wonderful institution in Northern Indiana, Notre Dame Law School, go Irish, and she's the first Asian, first Latina, and first member of the LGBTQ community to serve on our state Supreme Court. On a lighter note, she was recently on the Jimmy Kimmel Show because she has the perfect name suited for something else that she does pretty often, which is marry people, Mary Yu. Over the years, she has performed over 600 weddings, including many of the first same-sex marriages in our state when marriage equality was voted into law. So please give a warm welcome to Justice Mary Yu.
Thank you, Matt. First of all, go Irish is right. As a fellow domer, I'm pretty proud to be here with you, and I want to thank you for that very, very nice introduction. Friends, I'm happy to join you for the Campaign for Equal Justice, and for a lot of reasons, which I'll share in a moment. But I want you to know that your presence is really important, and it means a lot to people that you'll never meet, because each of you will make a difference, and you do make a difference in terms of what you're doing tonight. I have to admit that Remo is a challenging platform for me. The court's been using Zoom for the last 13 months, and we still can't quite get it all figured out. So I just want you to know that I sometimes don't know where to look. I sometimes can't figure out whether I'm muted or whether the camera's on and off. And yet at the same time, I have to just say that this remote technology has allowed us to do things that we never would have imagined. And again, we don't perfect it. At this point, we're just going to keep trying to do it and trying to do the best that we can. I will have to say that I miss the human connection, and yet I think, as Matt mentioned, I was recently on a show that helped me form a human connection that I'll never forget. And I have to admit that I recognized at that point that the television industry can teach us a lot about remote technology and how to connect to one another. And as Matt said, yes, I was recently on the Jimmy Kimmel Show on his segment on perfectly named people. So I'm going to answer a few questions that I keep getting from a lot of different people about that show. And the first is, I was randomly selected. We got a call in our office from people at the Jimmy Kimmel production show, and they just wondered if I would be willing to come on. After several different conversations, it all worked out, and Jimmy Kimmel thought that I would be entertaining enough to be on his show. I have to say that it was a lesson, however, on technology, and that's the point I'm trying to make. They literally delivered a computer with a wonderful camera and microphone, set it up in my office with my staff, and it was astounding that I was sitting there talking with Jimmy Kimmel in a way that made me feel very much connected to him and to the other guests. I do have to say, for those of you who haven't seen the segment, it's worth watching, not because of me, but because of the other individuals. And I don't want to give it away, but they're wonderful people from all over the country, and even somebody who appeared from England, and it's worthwhile. Again, I felt that in those 4 to 5 minutes, I formed a human connection. So let me say a few things about why I'm here and that human connection. We're here to talk about this campaign for equal justice. It's really a broader campaign in many ways for social justice. It's a campaign that's trying to connect us as human beings to one another. And so any pitch that I make tonight, I'm making it to you because you're lawyers. We as lawyers have a particular responsibility for this very fragile democracy. You know, when we're licensed, we're not licensed by the executive branch or the legislative branch, but as lawyers, we are licensed by the judicial branch. As lawyers, we are part of the judicial branch, which really bestows on us a particular privilege, but also a responsibility for making sure that our legal systems try to deliver justice. And I would say what COVID has done for all of us in so many ways is it revealed the big gap in our society. The gap, if you will, in terms of income, the reality that there are many of our neighbors and friends and families who actually are homeless. We have a lot of individuals who lost their jobs in the service industry. And before we all knew it, with one lost paycheck, they found themselves very close to living in destitution or poverty. We also recognize that we had many, many, many people in our community evicted from homes. And we were faced with the reality that I believe was always there. And it's just that COVID, frankly, revealed the disparity in our communities. Now, I'm not here tonight to try to make anyone feel guilty for the income gaps or the disparities or to blame you in any way. I am here to say this is an opportunity for us as lawyers to step in, to recognize the responsibility that we have, to help reconstruct society, to help bridge the gap. I am one who's persuaded that every single individual ought to have the right to competent counsel in their matters. Because a person who may be without resources may find themselves perhaps without a job or facing the challenges involved with benefits or housing, some people might think that those are just simple legal issues, or that people could actually, with a few tools, represent themselves. Again, having been a judge for quite some time, I can tell you that there's no legal issue that is simple. And it's only competent counsel that can help people navigate a very complicated system that we have created. And that's where you come into play. The Campaign for Equal Justice isn't just about raising funds. It is that, and you've heard already Matt discuss the competition that helps to boost the resources. But I'm here to also say that the Campaign for Equal Justice is about your time, your energy, your concern, more than anything else, the political clout that you have to help many of the organizations that are funded by the campaign need the resources that you can provide by way, again, muscle and strength on the policy issues. They need you to help speak out on some of these issues. They need you to own the future. They need you to help us construct a better society and a better legal system for all. So this is about something bigger. I'm asking you to join this campaign with your energy, your time, your talent, and to tell people about what we're trying to do. And that is, again, to ensure justice for every individual. We are at a very particular time in society and in history that we can prove to everyone that we can do this together. Lawyers are a noble profession. And I'm just asking you to step up to the plate to make that true. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Justice Yu. Thank you for highlighting the need for legal aid and our responsibility as attorneys to meet that need. I know you mentioned missing human connection, but it honestly feels like you're right in front of me because that pin on your jacket is crisp. And so now we're excited to hear from Murph Eamon, the Executive Director of Columbia Legal Services. The Legal Foundation and the Campaign for Equal Justice has been funding Columbia's work since 1984. and we are incredibly proud to keep supporting their deep work to reform our legal systems. With high impact litigation and advocacy for state and local policies, CLS fights for the rights of the most marginalized among us. With the first virtual session, CLS was very busy in Olympia this year, and Murph is here to share some of CLS's recent successes. Murph, thanks for being here. So it looks like we're having some technical difficulties on Murph's end, but Matt, if you'd like to introduce our next speaker, Ed Witter, that'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rachel. Along with supporting systemic reforms to our legal systems, we also fund urgent legal needs for individuals and their families facing civil justice crises like eviction. Our first speaker tonight is Ed Witter, director of the Housing Justice Project at the King County Bar. Despite a moratorium on evictions during the pandemic, there are still people facing eviction by their landlords, choosing to ignore that moratorium and a variety of other housing issues. Ed, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me? Yes.
Got you loud and clear. Perfect.
So thanks, Matt, and thanks for having us here to just talk about the Housing Justice Project at the King County Bar Association. And thanks for all those who have contributed to this campaign and to the Legal Foundation of Washington for really kind of making all of this possible. What we do is we are the public defender for eviction. So when someone shows up to court, they're sent down to our office and we represent those tenants. And that has been really hard right now, given that a lot of court is remote and a lot of people are struggling to actually, go to their hearings because there still are evictions that are happening, some illegal, some not. But I think it's really important to just get a scope of what we are dealing with right now. And right now there's about 160,000 households who are behind on rent, according to the US Census Pulse survey that was released last week. And a majority of those are BIPOC households in particular. And that's because primarily the groups that rely and demographic groups that rely on rental housing as a primary household are overwhelmingly Black and Latinx. About 70% of Black households in King County alone rely on rental housing as a primary residence. And we see this in the eviction proceedings. This is a survey we did of every single 2019 filing. The light blue that you see on the left under each demographic group just shows you the overall population of King County of that group. But then the 2019 just shows you how many evictions were filed over all of those. And so in particular, Black and African Americans particularly were the most affected by a lot, disproportionately. And especially in areas like outside of Seattle and like Kent and Renton and Auburn and Federal Way, there's a really high rate of eviction in those suburban areas, especially there's been a lot of displacement over the last few years. And so this is definitely a racialized issue that we deal with when it comes to avoiding eviction. And I think this is sort of where we come in, is we have a high success rate when we are working with someone. And, when somebody doesn't have representation, when we've looked at our court records, they typically are, by success, that is stay housed. But when the person does not have representation, they're typically evicted. But we're able to reverse that trend over half the time, just alone. And then I mentioned there's a column on there about Homebase. That's a rental assistance program that we've started with the help of other support, that basically when we are able to connect somebody with financial resources, we can even make sure doubly so that they're able to stay housed. So we provide that sort of wraparound service. But this is the general point here, is the mere fact that we have contact with someone and we take anybody who just shows up, we don't screen for merit. If we can work with them, we can keep them housed at least half the time. And if we add other resources, we can even keep them housed more often. But a lot of people throughout the state don't have that luxury. Overall, about 8% of tenants just don't have, only 8% of tenants actually have representation. The rest don't. Some things are going to change because there's going to be right to counsel, but that is going to take a while to set up, because right now we are on the throes of a potential cliff. Right now, the eviction moratorium ends on June 30th. The legislature even sent a signal to the governor that they want it ending on June 30th. And this is the big problem. We have about almost $1 billion in rental assistance circulating or potentially around the state but it's actually not being distributed. If you're a tenant right now in King County and you're wondering, how do I get money to help pay my rent? God help you. There's not actually money around. And this is actually happening across the US, right? And Texas just had a statewide report that just showed out of 176,000 applications for rent assistance, they've only issued 250 checks. That is happening right now in Washington. There's not a report about it, but I'm telling you it's happening. And the other thing too is we're not prepared within the court system either, and we're trying to figure this out. And right now, when we've looked at virtual hearings, there's a big electronic divide. About 50% of tenants are just defaulting and not understanding how to navigate sort of the electronic virtual system, which frankly for a lot of lawyers is a hard thing. The point is, our current services are needed a lot right now. I think the work that you do here is this gap that we are seeing right now. This is the real problem that I just put right in front of you. And this is what we were trying to target here tonight, among other things, is to make sure that we're able to make sure there's not a large catastrophic cliff of people becoming evicted at the end of the day. And I just really can't emphasize enough, the work you're doing, the time you're spending now is just incredibly important to making sure this happens.
Thank you, Ed, for your remarks. I know that one of my colleagues volunteers with your organization and finds that work really rewarding. So I encourage others to get involved in this way. I think we might have Murph back, so I will see. So we do not have Murph back, so I will let Matt take it around with our next round.
Thanks again, Rachel. We're going to do a very quick law firm rapid round. So we're going to keep you to 30 seconds, short and sweet, just to talk about who you are, why you support equal justice, and the goals that you have for your organization or your firm. I'll start off with K&L Gates. Just like Justice, you said, to be an attorney is to live a life of service. We all have a deep obligation to leverage our privilege as attorneys to help those less fortunate. The Associates Campaign for Equal Justice is an opportunity to do just that. K&L Gates is proud to have been an active participant in the campaign for the last few years with the Associates, and for much longer with the campaign at large and Legal Foundation of Washington. And we'll continue to fight for justice for all. Next, we have up Sarah Fairchild from Davis Wright Tremaine. If you could turn your camera and mic on, you will be next. Sarah, are you there? I will give you 5 seconds before we move on to the next person. All right, great. Next, we have from Foster Garvey, Brooks Lindsay, the former chair of the Associates Campaign. Brooks, if you can turn on your camera and your mic, you can go ahead and give your pitch.
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me? Thanks. Well, one big reason that I'm involved in and loved being a co-chair last year was the organizations that are the beneficiaries of this campaign that receive the money that is raised. One example is the Seattle Clemency Project, something I'm involved in, trying to get clemency for someone who's been in prison for 20 years for a 3 strikes offense, 21 years now. And that's just, kind of not right, especially in this case with it being 3 robberies. And it's an issue of equity. And in fact, in this case, we're getting a resentencing. We're using kind of a resentencing approach. I guess the point is that the Clark County Prosecutor's Office wasn't even aware of this man's kind of argument. And they were just thankful that we brought it to their attention. The only way that happens if you have money for projects and organizations like the Seattle Clemency Project. So that's why I'm involved. Our winning strategy, we're selling T-shirts, we're selling fleeces. We have a winning strategy along those lines. We have sold many in multiple colors and in different formats over 2 years, and we're not giving up on that approach. Thanks,
Brooke. It looks like we just got Murph back on the line. So we're do a quick shuffle. As your director of entertainment here, we're going to flip back to CLS. So again, we have Murph Elman here. Murph, again, works for the Columbia Legal Services program, and she will be talking about some of her recent successes. Murph, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sorry about all the technical difficulties. I want to talk about all of the great work that you all support. It's pretty incredible what has happened during this legislative session, and so grateful for everyone who contributes. So what happened this year, I'll start and talk about the legislative session and then also talk about some of our other work. So first off, this legislative session, as many of you know, has been historic for people living in poverty, for racial justice, and for economic security. One of the biggest bills that we worked on that passed this year was abolishing and prohibiting private prisons in Washington state. This is incredibly important. This will outlaw the Northwest Detention Center soon. This is a huge step forward for racial justice. Also, as many of you know, one of the reasons that Columbia Legal Services exists is because we have a civil legal aid statute that said that state funds for civil legal aid could not be used to represent people who are undocumented, among other prohibitions. And this year, that prohibition has been removed. After decades of work, now state funds can be used to represent people who are undocumented, the majority of people who are Black and brown. And this ends a historic injustice. And everyone is incredibly excited about that work. Many times, folks in jobs at restaurants, at janitors, working as domestics, do not get paid. They experience wage theft, and they have no means to go after their employer to get paid. They end up working for free. And folks who are living paycheck to paycheck on the margins cannot afford to miss a single hour of pay for work so that they can pay for housing, for food, for childcare. This year, after 8 years of incredible work, the Wage Recovery Act finally passed. This law allows people, low-income workers, to put a lien on their employer's property so that they may get paid. This is such exciting and important work. Sarah Lear, who passed away this summer and was an advocate for justice, began this work while she was at CLS. And we're so excited and grateful to the legislator and everyone in all the coalitions we worked in who passed and worked on this historic bill. One of the bills that's still out there, even though there's been sign die, is suspending people's driver's license for an unpaid traffic tickets. This is also known as driving while poor. So if you are poor and you cannot pay a traffic ticket, then you can have your license suspended. We have been working on this bill in conjunction with the Northwest Justice Project, who has really worked hard to support people in getting their driver's license back. Without a driver's license, people can't go to their children's school events, cannot get easily to work, and it becomes a catalyst sometimes for poverty and for homelessness. So we're very excited that this bill is still moving forward, and hopefully that there will no longer be the ability for folks' driver's license to be suspended if they do not have the ability to pay. Those are the largest successes this year. We continue to work to end economic exploitation for workers. One other bill is that people who have bank accounts can get their accounts garnished if they can't pay their consumer debt or a consumer loan or a private college loan. This bill prevents automatic garnishment. In the past, if you had 28 days to file a fairly complicated form to give to your bank and to your creditor, and so that you would not get garnished and you would not lose all the funds in your bank account. This bill protects for the next several years to 2025 up to $1,000 in your bank account for consumer debt garnishment, and also up to $1,000 for private school loans, and $500 for all other debts. Hopefully, folks will be able then to have time to protect that money and pay their bills, pay their rent, do those kinds of things, particularly during this time of economic crisis for many in our community. Other significant work that we have been doing is to try to prevent the harms of COVID, particularly among agricultural workers and people in prison. As many of you know, the Yakima Valley was devastated by COVID. Many people became sick, folks died. People who were working in the fruit packing plants were scared for their lives. They started to organize. Many of these were women working for low wages, coming together to try to get better working conditions to protect themselves and protect their families. We worked with them and filed claims with the National Labor Relations Board. There were other workers on other packing houses as well who walked out, who went on strike, who risked their livelihood to work for safety. We were able to get many agreements for protective equipment for agricultural workers across Eastern Washington. Very excited about that. The NLRB wage claims continue. We also filed a lawsuit against the Federal Department of Labor and some state agencies because of a problematic prevailing wage survey that they put together, where there were information from employers on that was untrue or inaccurate. We recently received a preliminary injunction order in our favor from federal court in Eastern Washington, saying that employers do in fact have an incentive to not tell the truth on these type of forms. And very powerful order from Judge Mendoza saying that the case could go forward in granting part of the preliminary injunction. We also have filed a second lawsuit for people in prison who are in danger of getting COVID, so that everyone in Department of Corrections can get a vaccine and also get culturally competent and relevant information about the vaccine. Many folks, particularly people of color, are scared of the vaccine and have received very little, if any, information about the safety of the vaccine or any information at all about the vaccine. So that case was just filed recently. That's a summary of our work. We continue to protect people in prison. We continue to protect people who are immigrants. I hope that you will support this work so that every person in Washington state, regardless of their immigration status, their economic status, or their incarceration status, has access to justice. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for your words, Murph. Really appreciate you giving an overview of the awesome things your organization is taking care of this past year. So we're going to flip it back to our law firm round. We actually have Sarah up and functioning right now. So Sarah Fairchild from Davis Wright Tremaine, you can go ahead.
Hello, and thank you for circling back to me. I apologize. My technical skills were not super sharp this afternoon. I am Sarah from Davis Wright Tremaine, and I just wanted to briefly say that Davis has a longstanding commitment to serving our community, and that is included through pro bono and social impact work and supporting equal access to justice. And that commitment has now come to include participating in the Associates Campaign for Equal Justice. BWT's attorneys have really embraced the campaign. The first year, when we participated in the first year of the campaign, we raised over $10,000. And last year, we more than doubled that and raised $24,000. We're really excited to participate in the campaign and continue to raise funds and support legal aid. I think as Justice Yu and Ed and Murph highlighted, COVID both revealed and deepened the disparities in our justice system, and we are in a position to help address some of those disparities, both, as Justice Yu said, through raising money and also through, I guess, raising awareness and working towards equal justice. And I guess the last thing I'll just say before passing it on is, to the extent that this campaign is a competition, we would challenge the other participating firms to try and keep up with Davis Wright Tremaine this year.
That's excellent. Thank you, Sarah. And now we're going to flip it back to Rachel Morowitz, where I'm sure she's going to regale you with all these, war stories about years past. Rachel, the floor is yours.
What was that sigh? Before I jump into my pitch, I just want to give everyone an update on the fundraising effort. We have raised over $4,000. So thank you all so much for your donations this evening. As for my pitch, Matt is right. In keeping with tradition, Matt's going to keep it serious and I'm going to keep it fun. So thanks, Matt, for making that sacrifice. As a smaller firm with big personalities, CARE has decided to maintain its strategy of taunting our big law friends into donating more. So to secure our three-peat, I wrote a poem inspired by Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak, and Silk Sonic. What you doing? Where you at? Oh, you got plans, BKR? Don't say that. We're sipping wine out of the generous council cup. In our robes, we look too good to be alone. We ain't playing no games. Every word that I say is coming straight from our hearts. So if you're trying to beat us this year, we'll leave the door open. Thank you for supporting KR this year. Matt, back to you.
And as per usual, Keller doing the most. It's not a surprise there. We're going to turn next to Lane Powell. Greg Powell, if you could join the stage. Greg, I think you're still muted.
All right. How about now?
Good to go.
All right. Thanks, Matt. I'm really excited to participate in the Associates Campaign for Equal Justice on behalf of Lane Powell this year, along with my Lane Powell co-chair, Angelica Gonzalez, who couldn't be here tonight. Supporting the Legal Foundation of Washington and civil legal aid is incredibly important to Lane Powell and to me personally. I'm particularly enthusiastic about the Associates Campaign as a great opportunity to get our younger lawyers actively involved in supporting civil legal aid and introduced to some of the great work that the Legal Foundation of Washington is doing. And at the risk of sounding repetitive, we are in a really privileged position as attorneys, and it's really easy to get busy with our client matters, but it's critical that we take the time to help those in our community that can't afford private counsel. And I'm really happy to say that Lane Powell has been involved since the beginning of this campaign and has really been super supportive of it and in getting our younger lawyers involved at an early stage to not only help participate in raising funds, but also to help identify those pro bono activities where people might be able to donate their time as well as their money. So super excited to participate this year, and we are really looking forward to giving Keller Rohrbach a run for their trophies this year. I think we had 96% participation rate last year. We're working on some really good ideas for how to take advantage of the enthusiasm around potentially being in person this fall to raise some more money.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. All right, next up, for Nash, Graham and Dunn, we've got Lila. So Lila, you're still on mute. So the mute sign is off, but we still can't hear you for some reason.
Now.
Excellent.
All right. You'd think I would know this platform by now, considering how often we've been using it. It just goes to show you can't get through a program without some technical difficulties. Anyway, I'm Layla Javantier. I'm the campaign rep for Miller, Nash, Graham & Dunn. This is actually my second year as an associate rep. And I've continued to be involved in the Associates campaign this year because I think it's such a critical platform to raise awareness for all of the incredible work that the Legal Foundation of Washington is doing. As you heard from Justice Yu and over and over, lawyers are in such a unique position. We have such a unique ability to bring voices to people that don't have them, and we should take that ability seriously. Miller Nash has taken part in the Associates campaign since it kicked off 3 years ago. We're just incredibly excited to be able to continue to support the community in this way. It's also just this campaign is a really fun way to get our colleagues amped up and in kind of this competition for such a. And I've seen that so many of the reps this year are actually classmates of mine. So I think the trash talk is going to hit new levels, which is going to be a lot of fun. Our firm's goal, as always, is to raise as much as possible for this cause. And in particular, this year, our goal is to break Keller Rohrbach's winning streak. So we're looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Next up, we've got Ray from Perkins.
All right, everybody, can you hear me? All right, great. So I'm Ray Ivy. I'm an associate at Perkins Coie, and I have been involved in. I've participated in the campaign as an associate since its inaugural season, which was my inaugural year as a lawyer and as a Perkins associate. So, I feel it. Even though it's only been going on for a couple of years, it's quickly become one of my favorite times of year, and one of the campaigns I look forward to the most. And so I'm very excited about being a participant again this year. And I am, the reason that I participate and the reason that I personally am so excited about this particular campaign is because it's a way to really get some bang for the dollar. The money goes towards such impactful work, and it is a way to contribute your giving dollars in a way that really benefits real people in very profound ways, and you can see that in our speakers and in the organizations that the money supports. So I am encouraged that and I'm very proud of the fact that although we haven't won any of the trophies from Perkins Coie sets and exceeds very aggressive goals every year in terms of total dollars raised, and we're looking forward to do that again this year. So thank you, everybody.
Great, thanks, Ray. We have Bridget from Fal Cochran.
Hi everyone, my name is Bridget Groats and I'm an associate at Fal Cochran Virtitis Amala, PCVA. I just recently became involved in the Associates campaign this year along with Sydney Codd, and our firm is very excited to be participating. At PCVA, we are dedicated to helping those who have been impeded by systemic inequities and oppression, and we are proud to be supporting these organizations that work to give individuals fair access to justice and legal representation. We have a great group of associates this year who are very competitive and also dedicated to equal justice. We have offices in both Seattle and Tacoma, and we will not only be competing with the other firms involved, but we will also be competing between our Seattle and Tacoma offices. And we know we aren't the biggest firm, but we will have 100% participation from our associates. And again, we are very excited to be involved, and we look forward to moving towards the goal of equal justice.
Outstanding. Thanks, Bridget, and I'm really glad to have PCVA joining us this year. Next, we've got Nika from Schwabe. Nika, we still can't hear you even though you're off mute.
Hear me now?
Good to go.
Yep. Hi everyone, I'm Nika. I am with Schwabe, Williamson & Wyatt. This is actually my first year in practice, and so it's my first time on the Associate Campaign Committee. I'm really excited to be here. Schwabe has been part of this campaign since it started, and it's my understanding that we've had 100% participation from our associates every year, so we will continue that. I've been involved with a lot of different civil legal aid, and just knowing how far money really goes and what it does, and being able to help fundraise is really important to me and to the firm. So I'm excited to be here and to meet with you all.
Good to hear. Thanks, Nika, and welcome to the campaign. And last but not least, we have Gabrielle from Williams & Caston.
All right, can everyone hear me? Just want to make sure first. Okay, good. So my name is Gabrielle Lindquist. I'm also a very new attorney at Williams Kastner. I'm filling in for Brendan Vandor, who I believe has been part of this for a little while. I joined Williams Kastner just 4 months ago in January as a first-year associate after graduating from UW Law. So I wasn't able to be part of the associates campaign last year, but I'm definitely excited to participate this year. Especially since increasing legal aid opportunities is important to me. It's something I did legal aid work in law school. In my summer at Williams Kastner, I worked with Brendan on an asylum application case, and we're continuing more asylum work this year. So I understand, well, I've been told that Williams Kastner finished second last year in its first year on the campaign. And although I'm not fully sure what that means yet, I've been told by Brendan to tell you all that we will be back to claim the cup first place this year. So anyways, I'm honored to be a part of this, and thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Gabrielle. And thank you for all the law firms who gave it a little pitch today. We really appreciate it. And now, Rachel, the floor is yours.
Oh man, I know I'm having technical difficulties, but thank you everyone for your pitches. They were great. It sounds like my plan worked. You're all trying to beat us, but we look forward to you trying. In terms of fundraising update, we are sitting at another $500 has come in since your last update. So we're at $4,600 now, which is amazing. Doesn't even kick off until October. So great work, everyone. But that's not to say your donations today will apply to October. I've tried to earmark my Goldmark luncheon funds for the Associates campaign, and Natalia has told me that I could not. As everyone has kind of spoken to today, COVID has led to a huge increase in the demand for legal aid. Actually, it's been said to have led to a 25% increase. So even though your donations today won't help you beat us, they will definitely go towards funding these programs that we so need. When we hop back into the tables, just a reminder that you'll be able to see a donation box on the right-hand side of your screen, but we still have the donation link in the chat if you need it. And now I will just I will give the mic to Matt.
Great. So last year we raised $88,000. And this year our goal is to raise at least $100,000. That's our floor. We're hoping to raise a lot more than that, but that's our first breach we have to cover. We hope that you can add a couple more firms this year, so that if your firm isn't signed up yet, please come talk to me, Rachel, or anyone else associated with the campaign to bring your firm into the fold. Now that we've completed the formal session of the event, you'll be randomly assigned when we move to this networking session. To navigate between tables, you just double click on other tables and your icon will move you there, and your camera screen will just follow right with it. We have some great tables set up. Murph and Ed both have tables to talk about pro bono opportunities and learn more about CLS and the Housing Justice Project. We have a couple of associate campaign info sessions set up. Rachel, myself, Brooks, and Lila will be set up on different tables for you to talk to all of us about, how to start raising funds, develop campaign goals, and other things of that nature. So please stick around if you can. If you don't, we understand, but we hope to talk to you later. Thank you, everyone.